Hello everyone, we are live on YouTube. Good evening. Good evening. Happy Wednesday. Welcome to the old studios here at Mustard Argent Towers. This is just the three of us for now. We've got Chris Reeve here.
Just the three
Talk,
of us.
Norwich City.
Yeah,
That's nice, Chris.
correct.
Do you want to sing?
No, thank you. No, thank you.
I kind of talked over that.
I'm not used to chanting so much now the football season's back.
There's a lot of chanting
I lost
going
it, the
on.
linesman against Aston Villa, I'll tell you that.
Did you?
Did we all?
Was he that bad?
Yeah, honestly. Linesman. Not the ref.
We're not deliberately billing this this battle between Dave Powell there, City fan season
We
ticket
definitely
holder,
are.
and Chris Reeve, but you know there has been a bit of talk, differing opinions. So we'll be interested to see how that. But we are actually expecting someone in the middle, which is Richard Balls, a surprise guest. Yeah, sorry, I was supposed to. Jess in my ear was telling me to make it a surprise guest, but too late. Richard Balls. He's not here yet. He's on his way. Obviously, you'll notice there's no Darren. Oh, he's here. He may come through soon. No Darren this week. He's having a bit of a break for this week and next week, but he'll be back after that, I'm sure.
I've taken his place.
You've taken his place, yeah. How do you feel about that, Chris?
Quite honoured. Quite honoured.
You're going to have to know yourself
Not as
now.
stylish. My hair's not as nice as Darren's.
Darren does have very... I mean, not
But then
many
he
people.
does get his hair and makeup done before each show, doesn't he? So.
Yeah, not here, though. I think he does that himself. Here's Richard Balls. Look at this, you lucky YouTube people. You get to see Richard Balls turn up. So that's all good.
Hello.
Hello.
How are you, Richard?
Right,
Nice to meet you.
Oh, yeah, nice to see you.
Hey, mate. How are you
Right,
doing?
good to see you.
Richard off of... Well, what... Former columnist for the Eastern Daily
Former
Press. And
columnist,
obviously, you worked here as well. But
I did.
do you ever fancy doing the column again?
Yeah, love to, yeah.
People would... Yeah.
Yeah, would love to.
That's not my position to ask. I've dug myself a hole there.
Just speak to you.
10 seconds. Right, bye-bye, YouTube. We'll be live with the show in seconds. Oh, in about a minute. Good evening and welcome to the PinkUn Show, your hour of live, dedicated Norwich City programming that has made a mockery of defending itself for much longer than the Canaries. We were replaced by a football match last week, but all was forgiven as City actually beat QPR. Since then, though, things have been a little more patchy, and that's being polite given what happened at Villa Park. Still, City are into the third round of the Carabao Cup. So if you fancy, you guys are there, fancy, you guys here, fancy, well, staying up, really, isn't it? Until 4:15 a.m. to tell us who City get in the draw. That would be great. Now, my usual partner in crime, Darren Eadie, is enjoying a well-earned break. Miss you, Darren. So, joining us here in the studio alongside me this week is former City columnist at the EDP, Richard Balls, Talk Norwich City's Chris Reeve, and a man who's regularly picked up the phone to us. It's a studio debut for season ticket holder David Powell. We are live right now. Say live, Chris.
Live.
Right now in Norwich. That was Darren's role. In Norwich on Mustard, and of course the only place for your Norwich City fix, pinkun.com, and its hugely popular YouTube channel. And as we are live, it means you can be part of the show and get in touch with us right here in the studio while we are on air on my phone. Simply post your thoughts. It's a long sentence. And questions in the live chat on YouTube. Send a tweet with the handle @PinkUn or give us a bell. The number you need is 01603 63 0006. Look at that, right there. Right, let's round up some City headlines. Villains of the Peace. That first half at Villa Park, dearie me. It wasn't for the faint of heart, yet miraculously, after half-time, it took a fourth Villa goal to really knock City out of the contest. That character bodes well, but only if City can start looking much, much more solid at the back. What a Carabao carry on, huh? 4:15 a.m. 4:15 a.m. That's the time of the League Cup third round draw. Apparently, this still maximises the exposure the draw will get in the UK, which is probably a euphemism for hopefully no one will see us cock it up this time. For the record, I'll be tucked up in bed, and so will everyone else that's been spoken to about it. Still, at least City are in it, hey? And Charlton won't be on the wrong end of a balls up for the third time in a row. Chris, go!
All the Germans.
My God, that's deep. Wow. Don't go too deep with the song.
Thank you.
Yes, the Carrow Road PA signed off City's Charlton win with Parklife, or maybe that should be Farklife. Farklife. Anyway, well done, Steve Trivet, for the song selection. And we had another German involved too. Tom Treibel got a nice little cameo as an introduction to City life. If he looks like that in a championship game from the start, we'll all go hand in hand through our Farklife. And finally, we're too long in business. The words of Daniel Farker, honest. It's little more than a week until the transfer window closes, and while it probably isn't what I should say, given how busy we can get on deadline day here, I'm not sure City have much business left to do. But is that right? Are more reinforcements needed? And could someone steal a star from under our noses? Good! It seems there is still plenty to talk about. Richard, Chris, David and David, how are we all doing? Are we all well?
Yeah, very well,
Yeah,
thank
very
you.
good.
Yeah, collective,
Yeah,
beautiful.
absolutely.
Nice work. It's been an interesting time since we were last on the airways, if you like, with what happened at Villa and what have you. Richard, what have you made of it? I'll start with you first.
Oof, well, Villa Park is not exactly a happy hunting ground for us anyway.
I've never seen anything positive there.
No, I wasn't really expecting much, probably based on what history has dictated in the past, but I wasn't expecting that either. I mean, you know, we know that we move the ball around nicely. We know that we're getting an idea already of the kind of football that Daniel Farker wants us to play, and I think there's a lot of great things, a lot of positives in that, and I'm really pleased to see that. I think against QPR we played really well, stroked it about nicely, and it all came together. But, you know, is it too early to be concerned about the defence?
Wow, it's a good question.
I would say probably it is, given that we are so, you know, the season has only just begun, and yet, you know, the sort of things that we saw, I think it's not for me the number of goals we've conceded, just that, it's the manner of them.
Yeah. I mean, what you'd like to think is it's going to be pretty easy ironing it out, because they are fairly catastrophic errors at the moment.
I think there's a few Norwich fans actually looking to divorce husband already.
Yeah, it's an interesting one, James Husband. It feels like he hasn't quite got going here, David.
No, I don't think he has. I think watching him at Villa, he was losing the ball quite a bit down the wing. We're in the corner flag, for one reason. I mean, they were lucky they didn't score from that, but at least one of the goals was his problem, and it's putting pressure on the other back three along that line, which is hard work.
I did like the divorce joke.
Thank you.
Didn't go over my head.
Slick.
Chris, you were at Villa Park.
Yes, I was, for my sins.
What did you make of it all?
I thought the first half was suicidal, absolutely suicidal. Team selection, playing Stephen Naismith in that centre midfield role, and not having Nelson up top is.
But that was an
always a
injury
challenge.
selection, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. But then, you know,
He's fit enough to be on the bench.
An injured player comes on and scores, Michael. It's it's an interesting one, isn't it?
But then puts him out of the Tuesday game.
For me personally, the defence, yes, was bad against Villa, but I thought the midfield were absolutely missing. Far too many players floating around, no one connecting with the forward line. We had to play Maddison, or we had to play Wes Hoolahan with Cameron Jerome. If you don't give Cameron Jerome enough to feed off, he's not going to deliver, and unfortunately we couldn't do that.
We're definitely going to talk about James Maddison, because I'm going to make sure we do. But Charlton, progress, David. Charlton in the Cup, third round.
Well, first half wasn't very much progress, was it?
It doesn't. Come on. Does it matter when you win 4-1?
I mean, we played really good football at times in that second half, I must admit, and in the first half at times. But, I mean, my mate Chris over there, he's Mr. Naismith. I mean,
Straight in. There is a bit of beef between you two, which is why Richard's in the middle.
He wasn't really on the same pitch, was he?
Chris, was he?
Just to fill you guys in, me and Dave did fall out over Stephen Naismith quite hard last season.
Last season.
So much so that David required an apology for me, from me, and I did not apologise. That's the kind of beef, and hence why Richard's here today.
Wow, okay.
To keep the peace.
Again, look, Stephen Naismith, you know, he lost the ball, which led to Charlton's goal, and it again just proves that he cannot play in centre midfield. We signed him to play up front for us. Throughout his career, he's been successful as a forward for Everton, not as a midfielder. So for me, I think it's just glaringly obvious that we absolutely have to play either Wes or Maddison in that role.
Tom Tribal came on, though. Now, Rich, I won't ask you because you weren't there last night. We'll come on to that in a moment. But, you know, for a small cameo, Chris?
Looks lively, looks very lively. Lots of energy, which I really, really like. And I think with his goal, I'm very, very happy about it. I know it didn't look, you know, it wasn't amazing, but I think it's just quite nice that someone's just not afraid to just have a go and hit it. We don't really have anyone else in our team apart from Oliveira that wants to just shoot on sight. He came on against Villa. First thing he does, turns on the ball, shoots and hits the top of the net. And Tribal, I'm not sure if that was just him on his debut doing his thing, but the signs initially say that he could be a very, very good player for us. And Stiepermann as well had a good performance, I thought.
Did Daniel come out of any stats within 1.4 kilometres in 20 minutes of however long he was
I don't know what
on?
it was like in the last two games. Daniel Farker very good at extrapolating 9 minutes into a full championship performance, but I'll wait to see a bit more from him. Loads more other things to get through, and we'll come on to them in a bit. But as we said, there's been plenty said following Norwich City's last two outing. Here is the pick of the bits, including City head coach Daniel Farker, forward Marley Watkins, and my old macker, Paddy David.
Sure, we're disappointed about the loss today, so we knew it would be a hard game for us because, Aston Villa will be here very motivated, very aggressive, and a little bit to do or die game for them so early in the season. And we knew with having the third game within 6 days, it will be a hard struggle. But I think the reason today was we didn't play well enough in the first half, had a really a bad first half, so Villa deserved to be in lead in this at the halftime. I was content with the reaction of my guys. I think we dominated the second half, were the better team.
There's a big myth out there that I've had millions and millions and millions to spend, when that's the farthest thing from the truth. The club has spent millions over the last 4 or 5 years, or whatever it is, and we're a bit hamstrung with it at the minute.
No tempo, and we saw it against Sunderland as well last Sunday. It's so easy for opposition banks of four just to shuffle back to the edge of their 18-yard box and then just wait, because Norwich will give the ball away. As it stands at the minute, this group of Norwich players are not incisive enough and not good enough in possession, which is the concerning element moving forward. I know it's early days, and as I say, there are injury problems, but if that is the way he wants to go about it, then they need to be a lot better at it, and the early evidence is suggesting there's plenty of work to do.
Yeah, I think we had some problems in the beginning of the game, and Josh also to come into the game, but I think the last 75 minutes were really brilliant, especially from Josh, and he's really a threat when he at the ball on his foot and can face an opponent, and yeah, especially the first goal was really brilliant.
Marley Watkins, I guess it was an interesting start to the game, but you finished the job off in the end.
Yeah, I thought it was a sloppy start, but obviously it's all about a win in the cup game, so we knew our quality would shine through, and which it did, so happy days, and just crack on now.
The sloppy starts, they have happened 1 or 2 times this season. Can you put it down to anything?
No, but it does need to get sorted, so we'll be looking to do that, and yeah, maybe it's just one of those things, like coincidence, but obviously we've got to sort it out. No excuses, just got to be better, start better. Thought we started too sloppy today, but we got into our groove, and then we sorted it out, yeah, so.
OK, let's wrap up the EFL details then, shall we? Aside from City being done at Villa Park, there were excellent wins for Burton, Sheffield Wednesday, QPR, Forest, Cardiff and Leeds. Middlesbrough haven't quite hit the ground running yet, while Ipswich's miraculous start to the season continued with their best win of the season so far. Alec Neil's Preston also picked up a cracking result at home to Reading. So it's the Blues of Cardiff and that lot down south with perfect records 4 games in. That's Mick McCarthy and Neil Warnock showing all the young'uns how it's done. There's no hiding bright starts for Forest, QPR and Preston, while Leeds will now have to cope without striker Chris Wood, who was sold to Burnley for £15 million earlier this week. As for the bottom, sadly, that's where we find City. Villa are level with them, while Fulham's cup exit in midweek will do nothing to hide their sticky start. The bottom 3 and Fulham are the only sides without a win. City head to Millwall on Saturday. And as we know, City made it through to the 3rd round of the Carabao Cup. There are 6 ties tonight, so this list of who City might draw in the morning is a little longer than it will be come 10 p.m. But as you'll see, the seven big... They're not there, Chris. The 7 big guns from the Premier League are added to the list. Be lovely to go to one of those places, wouldn't it? Are we enjoying the fact that Daniel Farke seems to be taking the cup seriously, Richard?
Yeah, I am actually. I think for a long time, but that's partly why I wasn't there last night. I mean, I just got so tired of every season making the effort, thinking, "Oh, go down, yeah, we'll see. I'll go and see us play Orient or Bury or whoever it was," and not just losing, but just not turning up.
Shrewsbury away.
Yes.
Thick fog.
Milton Keynes, Dons.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, let's not go through them all.
Anyway,
we'll be here a long time.
We'll be here a long while. We haven't got time for that. But I think, yeah, he is somebody who... I was amazed, for example, in the first game against Swindon, that he put Gunn in goal, you know, for that, you know. And he actually only dropped back 3, I think, from the previous game. So, yeah, I think that's good.
So will you go to the next round, do you think? If
I
it's
will.
at home?
I will.
There you go. How about you, Chris?
I won't. I'm a glory hunting League Cup fan. I won't turn up until the round of 16.
Round of 16, that's your goal, is it?
Yeah.
Okay, well, even if they draw one of the big ones.
Correct, yeah.
Well, there you go.
Always.
David?
Oh, yeah, I should go. Hopefully, work will let me go if it's an away game. But yeah, I'm looking. I like watching Norwich at the end of the day. But it's nice to see that we are actually taking the cup seriously, because last night, in that position that we were in under other managers, we would have lost that game.
We haven't got very long, but for the rest of the part. But in the league, what are you making of it? Is that table starting to take a little bit of shape?
I don't think so, personally. And it is because Ipswich are up there that I'm saying that. Definitely.
Only a little bit of shape.
Green and yellow glasses on tonight, Michael.
Okay. I mean, you know, Teletext will be publishing the table by now.
Well, I'd find it hard to believe that the league's going to let anything like this at the end of the season.
I don't think it will look like this, but I think you can see that there's the catch-ups now starting to come into certain groups of that league, and we're in the lower part of that catch-up.
For now, any surprises? Ipswich. Oh, not like, yeah. We've been waiting to use that all night. Cardiff, I mean, Neil Warnock could have predicted that, couldn't you, that he might get them going a bit?
For a bit, but then it's all going to come tumbling down, isn't it?
Which is very interesting, because we kind of see teams start off very well, but it soon unravels, and maybe Wolves with their Portuguese players and possibly even Leeds with some of the players they brought in. They look great at this time.
I'll be honest with you, with Cardiff's results at the back end of last year, they were probably 2 wins away from getting in the top 6.
Yes.
So looking on it, they've actually rebuilt from that position last season, and they've stepped it up this season. So under Warnock with the team, they haven't got rid of anybody. In fact, I think they've improved it. I would say they could be dark horses up this season.
Producer Jake rightly mentions Kenneth Zahor in my ear. Very good player, like him a lot. They do well to keep hold of him. That is us for part 1. After the break, it's time for you to tell us what you think as we take your comments and calls. We're heading for a break on Mustard, but the place to be is the PinkUn YouTube channel, where we're with you even during the break for some stellar bonus chat. Stellar bonus chat.
Right.
Stellar bonus chat. So don't go anywhere, and we will all be reunited in 3. Hello! We're live on YouTube. Loads of comments coming through on my phone. Keep them coming through on my phone, and we'll go through them in the next part of the show. And if you want to ring up, don't forget you can do that if you're on your phone. 01603 63 0006.
Well done, Michael.
Memorised it. Thanks.
Well
done. We didn't get to talk about Ipswich in that part properly, did we? How do you really feel?
Do we have to talk about
Is this
Ipswich?
proper, though? Mick McCarthy's a good manager.
He is a good manager.
He is a good manager, I agree.
He is a good manager. He's probably one of the best managers in the Championship, and I'm probably going to get slated down for this, but he actually is. He's been unlucky. Where Sunderland, he was very unlucky. Wolves, he was very unlucky. He's got limited resources at this football club at Ipswich. However, what he does do is bring in some youth and dig in. Look at 200,000 for a player last year.
A couple of strikers they bought as well.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, I can't stand them.
I can feel Chris simmering.
I can't stand them as much as what Chris can't, and I'm sure you can't either. But however, you've got to admire what Mick McCarthy does.
Yeah.
I'm an objective
with limited
journalist.
resources.
I'm an objective
and
journalist.
who's to say in a few years' time we might be limited resources?
Go on, Chris.
I think from an
we are,
Ipswich fan's point of view, I wouldn't want Mick McCarthy as the manager, regardless of how well he's doing. Because,
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, 100%.
Is this how you felt about Chris?
I wouldn't want him
He
here.
slags off their fans week in, week out. If you listen, do you listen to any of his
Does he?
post-match stuff?
Does he really?
He does. He says, "Oh, the Ipswich fans want me back again." You listen to some of the stuff last season.
They probably were.
Totally, it's not the point. As a manager, you don't go and disrespect your supporters.
I never
For me,
realised
the
that.
moment
Okay,
that a
I'll
manager
backfire
does
on it.
that, that's it.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Look, at the end of the day, if Ipswich are doing well now, then so be it. He's got great traditional values. I think he's a mid-table Championship manager. I would not say he's one of the best managers in this league. No way, that's daft.
Oof.
I just think, I think with McCarthy...
Wasted on the break.
That was on
Chris.
YouTube. YouTube got it.
You need to
YouTube
see
got
him with
this
some
one.
money. I mean, and McCarthy with some money, which we haven't seen
But would it
for a
work,
long
though?
time.
He had money at Wolves.
Yeah,
And he took
did.
Wolves where they deserved to be, and
Yeah.
then he got
He
sacked.
did all right with
He didn't get
Wolves.
sacked, he got moved on.
But Wolves might not have got relegated if they'd.
I don't
if
think
they
he's
got
a
rid
deal.
of
I mean, I wouldn't want him here for
We've got to
obvious
go.
reasons.
Look at Watford.
Save it for the show. See you in a couple of seconds. Welcome back to part 2 of the PinkUn Show, and it's time to hand things over to you in Talk Is Cheep, where your calls, questions and comments and posts lead our Norwich City agenda. So to get in touch with us here in the studio or to this very phone, simply post your comment or question in the live chat feed on YouTube. You can send a tweet with the handle @PinkUn or give us a call into the studio on 01603 630006, and we'll hopefully have a call in a moment. But first of all, let's go through some of these YouTube comments, shall we? I'm not being rude. Brett Harvey, and I don't tend to read these first either, so bear with me. What do you think about our defensive problems at the back for us, and what transfer business do you think Daniel Farke and Stuart Webber will do in the remaining day of the transfer window? Are they going to bring some people in? And do they need them defensively?
I think that the left-back position is a gaping hole. I really
Really?
do. Yeah, I really do. I think Husband, so far, hasn't been reliable at all. I know it's early days. I know we need to be patient. But if it's still like this come midway through the season, can we... Look, I want Toffolo. I want Toffolo there, personally. But is he ready for it?
No.
They've got 3 players in that position, Chris. Are they going to?
But are they good enough?
I don't think they're going
Well, that's
to
a
do it.
different question.
All I'm
maybe.
stating is, at the moment, left-back is not going well. And I do think that Frank and Zimmerman can create quite a solid foundation for us at centre-back.
I think Chris has pulled out a very good point here, actually. You don't realise...
Thank you.
No, you don't realise
The
on
forgiveness has begun.
how much you actually miss Martin Olsen.
Oh, no.
Brilliant. They are missing Jamal Lewis, which I think is a major, but that's such
Yes,
a shame because he
yes.
looks like he could really step up in pre-season, which is a big shame. And we should just touch on the news today that it seems like, although it's not finalised, Ben Godfrey could well be off to Shrewsbury on loan, which would be interesting given the Norwich aren't blessed.
I'm
with
disappointed
centre-backs.
with that decision.
We'll see how it... I mean, it will happen, I'm almost sure, so we'll see how it pans out. I think we've got our first caller on the line, which is Stuart Lewis. Stuart, thank you so much for ringing up today. I've got one big... Well, it's not a big word, but it's a word, and it's in capital letters, and it says patience. So away you go, sir.
It is. Hi, guys. I'm a big advocate, believer in patience at the moment. Now, it's been a confusing start to the season because we've alternated between looking pretty good and looking pretty bad. But if you step back from that and think of the sheer scale of change during the summer, surely that's to be expected. And we've got to give this thing time.
Yes, and I think we had a little Twitter exchange during yesterday, or I don't know, all the days merging into one, to be honest. But about it's so difficult, isn't it, to know when there's so many changes. You have concerns, you have things that you see that look really promising. We just don't know, I guess, which ones are going to form into the actual future of Norwich City over these coming weeks and months. And that's really difficult, isn't it? Because you need to be objective as to what we're seeing. Or does there need to be a degree of blind faith at this point so that it's given a chance?
Well, I'm not sure it's blind faith. I mean, if you think the scale of the change, the fact that it's been further compounded by little injuries, niggles in some in pre-season, so where's Ivo Pinto, are only now match fit, ready to play. You've got to give this time to settle down with anyone. But I just like Daniel Farke's style. I'm very impressed with Stuart Webber, and I have some faith, but I'm not sure it's altogether blind. I think there's some reason for it.
No, it's a fair point. It's quite a harsh word to use, but still. How long would you, therefore, Stuart, would you want to be taking a view as to how this is actually going? How long in your barometer of the season? At what point will you go, you know what, I think we can see a proper pattern here?
At least November, December. I mean, a lot of people compare this with David Wagner at Huddersfield. Now, David Wagner at Huddersfield was not an instant success. The guy in his first season at Huddersfield didn't pull up any trees. Now, they had a pretty modest record, and it's only when he had that experience of two-thirds of a season managing the Championship under his belt that he had a well-planned window, in fact, 2 windows with Stuart Webber. It was only then that they got their act together. So Huddersfield wasn't instant success. We're not going to be instant success. I'm holding off judgment, given how fundamental the changes are. Now, I'm not for judging people that quickly anyway, but in this case, surely it's months before we start pinning our colours to the mast.
Stuart, just stay there for a moment. We'll come back to you, gents. I've got Richard nodding.
Well, I absolutely agree. I mean, we're so early in the season, and we've got, as he quite rightly says, I mean, massive amount. The whole dressing room has been in a state of flux. So many new people coming in. No one can expect that to just settle down immediately. So I completely agree with that. Supporters do have to be patient. I haven't really. I think so far I was just talking about goals that were conceded at Villa Park. I mean, so any comments I've got about the last few games are literally that. They are just comments on the last few matches, and they're not comments on the Farke regime. And in no way would anything I would even say tonight I'd want that to be seen as that.
This is a really good point, actually, isn't it? Because if you go into Twitter and Facebook comments and the wonderful world of social media, there is much more angst about this than what I've seen at Carrow Road and probably away from home. There are a few grumbles at Villa Park, but generally, I've been really impressed by the patience and the open-mindedness of the City fans. I thought there was going to be more of an issue at Carrow Road than there has been. They seem to be really enjoying it, and they really want to believe that this is the right way to go.
I think that's down to Stuart Webber being much more open with the fans, and credit to the football club for opening up more. Definitely. I think that settled the fans down and made them realise that it is going to take a period of time. However, I agree with Stuart. I do think definitely an element of patience is required until November. But I really have this funny feeling that it is going to be an instant success. I have every faith we will get all 3 points at Millwall at the weekend, despite the fact that we just fell over Aston Villa. For me, I think as long as we keep Carrow Road a fortress and win every game at Carrow Road, we'll be in and around the playoffs. Michael, it's honestly possible.
They'll win the division if they win every game at Carrow Road.
Well, there you go then. But is there anyone on paper that you can see coming to Carrow Road and actually thrashing Norwich?
Sunderland just did.
Well, I wouldn't have thought Sunderland would have done, and yet they did, and that really did shock me.
Yes, it was a big surprise, and Villa Park was a bit of a surprise as well, but it's interesting the teams that they're playing.
I've said to numerous people during the course so far this season that I personally think we'll finish around about 8th, maybe 8th, 10th, and I think for what we've brought in, the players, we haven't got that problem of selling them next year. So I think that bringing the new boys in, give them a year to bed in next season, will be the season. If you look at the way the Huddersfield structure went, that worked exactly the same way. We've got too many people coming into this football club all at once, and I think we need to just take a chill pill around it and say we're not going to, because there's loads of people getting all excited. Just enjoy what we've got, but it's going to take time.
Which is a great point, David. I'm going to bring this back to you, though, Stuart, because I have a slight issue with that. I don't think this is a free hit season, because at the end of this year, the parachute payments drop out. And in reality, players like Alex Pritchard, whatever contract they're on, they're going to have to be sold because Norwich are going to need to free up money. It's not quite the free hit that Huddersfield had. So how does that get balanced, in your mind, with what Norwich want to do and what they could be faced with if they don't go up?
It's a very fair point. No, I think what they're doing, what Steve Stone and Stuart Webber are doing now, is really walking a tightrope. There's a balancing act between giving us the best shot at going up this season, but at the same time having something sustainable if we don't go up. And that's why I think maybe some people are puzzled why we're signing these young players. You know, the winger from Arsenal, the guy from Liverpool. We've just got to build a strong, young, emerging team for the future, primarily in case we don't go up this year. Because you're absolutely right. The playing budget had to be cut this season. If we don't go up, it has to be cut again. It's a fact of life, and it's a tough one for us.
Stuart, thank you so much for your call, cracking call. And he is spot on. I think we're actually seeing the best work of Stuart Webber in terms of filling the under-23 side. So there is much more of a pathway. That said, I've got no idea how good any of these players are, but still.
I saw Steve Stone, actually, at the service station on the way to Villa on Saturday, and there was three or four. I don't know what he had. I think he had a coffee, but I mean, he actually came when we walked out. He actually walked out with us, and he actually said, "What do you think?" And he said, "Just be patient." That was his words. Just be patient, and I think that's what you've got to be.
Was it Corley Services?
That was, yeah.
Yeah, what a services that is.
Yeah,
Thomas Sadler has been on touch on the YouTube. Hashtag mind the gap. I don't know what that means. Thomas is obviously short of something to do tonight. Gaz Hawes, what do you think about Angus Gunn and his current performance? What do you think about our current defensive problems? I think we touched on the defensive problems. Angus, I think it was the first game he's missed, actually, on Tuesday night. I'd have to say at Villa Park, you look probably... well, in terms of the signings, that Norwich have made, you look at Harrison Reed, Angus Gunn, the two loan signings, young loan signings, they do look a real class act.
Well, they've been at class teams, haven't they?
They have.
It's very true, and there's a reason why Pep Guardiola rates Angus so highly, and you can see that now. And I think it's strange that we've conceded quite a few goals, but Angus for me was the man of the match against Villa, which is bonkers. But honestly, he was like a monkey in goal. The saves he was pulling off were in the first half. We should have gone in at half-time 7-0 down.
And in the QPR game as well. I mean, early on in that game, but I think when it was 0-0, he made a great save down at on the other end. And
I'm not criticising John Ruddy at any point, but there was no way within that first 5 minutes that he would have got to that save that.
You can. He's gone now.
Well, he would never have got to that. He would never have got to that save that
in
the first 5 minutes. That ball which went one-on-one with Angus Gunn.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, John Ruddy would never have got there. And also the header, I don't think he'd have been able to leap like a salmon to save that either.
And what impresses me about Angus is his natural aura of leadership. And, even like when we concede, if you watch Angus after we concede, he goes absolutely ballistic.
Yeah, he kicked the post at the same
time. He's very vocal. He's very, very vocal. And he seems to already be building you saw it at the QPR game. First thing they do, come together. Zimmerman, Frank, Angus Gunn, get a little huddle between themselves. And I like that. I think those three together could be a force to be reckoned with in defence this season.
Share My Year has been in touch on the YouTube.
Oh, Simon, hello.
It is Simon, yeah, it is Simon. Good things come to those who wait. We're showing promise in some areas, still time to fix the other issues. We have Matt Ware on the phone next. I've got two words here, Matt. Good evening to you. Nice to speak to you. Mortetti, it says. He was good last night, wasn't he, Alex?
Yes, I thought, apart from the obvious... Josh Murphy and Wes Houlihan, he was probably my third choice for man of the match. I just think he controlled everything. He mopped everything up. He reads the game, and I thought, unlike last season when he looked a bit sluggish at times, maybe the rest and the lack of football has done him some good because he looked really sharp and got about the pitch well. And I think that while I'm all in favour of the possession-based project, I do think that there is, especially if we're conceding goals, room for someone like Tetty, who, he doesn't have the range of passing that Harrison Reed has, but he's probably going to win more tackles and he's probably going to anticipate more things and he's probably going to help our shaky defence out a little bit more, maybe.
Sorry for that. It's an interesting point, and I actually had this discussion, I think, at Carrow Road last night, that it feels like it's either Alex Tetty or Harrison Reed in the formations that that Daniel Farke wants to play. Is that a shame? I mean, I guess it might evolve as we get further into the season, but is that how you see it, Matt?
I think that's the way it looks at the moment, but I do think maybe away from home, for example, at Aston Villa, too late now, but it may be an idea to go more along the kind of 4-2-3-1 line that that seems to slowly be going out of fashion now. These things come and go, don't they? But to have Tetty alongside Reed, and maybe forego Vrancic or Naismith, would possibly work away from home a little bit better. Maybe it just make us that bit more solid and secure. Which I think, while the new boys at the back are bedding in to Championship life, might help. And let's not forget, Tetty's got a lot of Championship experience now. He knows what it's all about. He's robust, he's strong, and he's probably the only type of player that we've got that does that specific job. So I hope that we'll be seeing a bit more of him in some league games.
Stuff, Matt. Hang around, don't go anywhere. It's an interesting one, isn't it? It's almost a little indication of how is Daniel Farke going to manage the resources he's got at his disposal. Yeah,
definitely. I mean, I think there's a danger when you bring lots of new people in that you almost throw the baby out with the bathwater. I mean, we're already talking about Tettle. Where is he going to play? That Tetty, as you say, all that Championship experience, terrific player. He can get about the pitch really well. He's very, very positive on the ball. Almost when there are times in a game where it feels that everything's getting a bit stuck, he kind of is the one who gets hold of the ball and moves it forward. I'm not his biggest fan. I mean, I think he's been found out against some really decent opposition, but I think at the moment the defence clearly need. I think when we don't have the ball, we don't look very sure of ourselves. Actually, we look like we're lacking in confidence, and I think some of the players have got to get back and help the defence out a bit more because they just need that extra cover. I think.
I know me and Paddy have both said they look really exposed. The back line.
The gentleman who's on the phone at this precise moment, I have to put my hands up and say fair play to him, because later on you'll see what I've done in the team.
Is it 8 Tetties? Is it 8 Tetties?
It's 8 Tetties. Tetties. No, but I think having Tetty in that position, I'd actually have him in the flat midfield and get rid of Mario Vrancic, for the simple reason is we've got no one in midfield who can tackle. And Tetty will get you a yellow card. Now, if Tetty gets you a yellow card every game, you know he's been in a game.
Which he generally
does.
Which he generally
does. But he generally does. But we haven't got anyone like that in that line. We've got no one. I mean, Maddison's there and gets tackled. However, do you see him put much of a tackle in? No.
Matt, let's come back to you. I'm putting deadlines on everyone tonight, I'm afraid. So how long do you want to start seeing real improvement? Or you may think that it's not too bad at the moment anyway. But how long are you giving it?
How long am I giving it before I throw my toys out of the pram?
Why not? They're the rules we all play to, I think, aren't they?
Christmas.
Yeah. Christmas it is, November, Christmas time. Love it. Matt, thank you so much for your call. Hope we get to speak to you again very soon. Christmas time, eh?
On the subject of Christmas, I mean,
really?
Yeah. The Christmas cards already.
Not that I wish to talk about Christmas, but I think one of the big shames I think about what happened obviously last season was that and I think Matt is absolutely right. It is that time when you see how things are going in a season. For me, the club should have, instead of concentrating on working out an exit strategy for Moxie, which is all they were bothered about around the Christmas period, instead of looking at the Huddersfield game at home and thinking, cool, you know what, we look really short actually against any decent opposition. When this maybe we need to act. They were too bothered about getting rid of the chief executive, who actually, quite frankly, in my opinion, had no impact on what took place on the pitch at all. But that was their priority. They made that their number one priority. They weren't bothered about the manager. It was the chief executive who had to be removed at all costs. And that really was a massive, massive error. And, one of the great difficulties I have with the whole Farke and how long you give it, I think he actually deserves to be given much longer, probably, than any of us are actually prepared to give him. The problem is he has turned up. We've already had one season of our parachute money. That's already spent and gone, plus the fact that the board allowed, for reasons best known to themselves, to manager to spend huge amounts of money. And I mean, we talk now about this wage structure that needed to be dealt with. why was it created in the first place?
Which was a definite legacy of spending too long in the Premier League.
Yep.
I'll just say, I'm not saying how long do we give Daniel Farke, by the
No.
way. I'm just saying how long do we look at it and go, OK, this is...
What I was just going to finish
what
by
we should
saying
do.
is just one thing, is I'm really glad to see us spending money in the summer, because Alex Neil spent 2 seasons, the one leading into the Premiership, and he didn't sign a single defender in either summer. That is an astonishing achievement, given that there are people in, you know, as yet undiscovered parts of the world who know that our biggest problem is
I
defending.
don't think there's many teams in the country that actually wouldn't have bought a defender in the transfer market, would you?
Right, Tom Izzard has been in touch. With the amount of changes, top half of the table is fine, he says. This is a long-term plan. We're here for the long term. And Rob Turner, fact, Steve Bruce looks like the monster evolved from the dad from Frasier. Just leave that for a moment. Poor Steve. Right, we've got Robson Summers on the phone. Robson, thanks for ringing in. What would you like to talk about? The floor's yours.
I just want to talk about last night's game and how it went, honestly, really. I thought Naismith is someone who I just don't think is going to fit in this season. I think last night against a poor Charlton team, he still couldn't do as well as everyone would have hoped to. He takes the extra touch when he has a chance to shoot. He loses the ball, which cost us the first goal Charlton scored. I just don't think he's going to be one of the key players this season. I think we might as well just get rid of him to get him off the wage bill as well. I just want to see your opinion on Naismith.
It's a great debate. Let's try and keep it
fantastic call.
Absolutely. And I think the thing about Stephen Naismith, I know for a fact he has made it so clear at the start of pre-season, I want to be here. I want to make this work. He really does want to. There's no, you can't criticise the fact that.
What choice has he got? No one would want to sign Stephen Naismith on his form.
No.
He wouldn't. He's got to say that.
I think with this Naismith, I think. I've been shocked. I've been absolutely shocked by his performances so far this season, I must admit. I kept a clean slate on it from last season.
So did
I personally thought that he could be potentially the one that we needed to get this. However, the new system now has come in. And yes, although Naismith has bought into this system, however, I don't think his football abilities has. And that's a bit of a worrying point.
Richard, give us your Naismith view.
The debut against Liverpool is still fresh in my mind. It was that good. I think he played really well in that game, and I thought, wrongly, this is great. This is the guy I used to see on Match of the Day, piling forward, getting loads of goals and everything, and he just hasn't been that. And I'm at a loss to understand why. The player that I used to see on TV and admire so much, and I was, you know, when we signed him, I thought, God, Stephen Naismith at Norwich City, this is absolutely tremendous. He has just been...
Last gasp by. It's what you just mentioned, Richard. It's just
Panic.
last gasp.
It's
what
panicking.
it is.
All right, let's rattle on for some of these questions, shall we? Steve Chick, we'll keep through them quickly, and we'll come back to Robson in a moment. I'm a DF fan, but he seems very worried that players are tired already after 4 or 5 matches. If they are now, how are they going to cope come January, February?
He's a what fan, sorry?
Daniel Farke fan. What did I say? DF?
No idea.
Oh, I was abbreviating.
Sorry.
Are you worried they're going to be tired come January, February?
Not really, and I've already mentioned in other media that I just think that the whole fitness excuse is a load of rubbish. They're professional footballers. You know, I've spoken to Russ pre-season, and he's mentioned that, you know, he's been the fittest he's ever been. He's been through the hardest pre-season he's ever had. So for them to turn around and say, oh, they're not fit enough, please don't even go there. It's completely invalid.
They weren't doing 2 training sessions a day for no reason.
No,
because they weren't fit enough.
Still training before games as well. Robson, to you, we've had a question on here from MAA Arms. He thinks Norwich will finish in the playoffs, but he wants to know where everyone thinks Norwich will finish. Robson, where do you think Norwich will finish this season?
I think if they start to perform a lot better, they tighten up the defence, I think they can push the playoffs. But I think automatics, I can't see us doing it with a lot bigger teams in this league who I think will push through and get the automatic places. But I think playoffs would be realistic for us.
Robson, thank you so much for your call, as always. Much enjoyed that. I said top 6 before a ball was kicked, and then I was shuddering by the end of the Sunderland game at that. David, you kind of said, haven't you, between 8th and 10th?
Between 8th and 10th, anything above that, I should be very happy.
Richard?
I think the same. I mean, I think that I would be really worried, or more worried, if we were not scoring goals. I mean, if we were, you know, had a leaky defence and we were really struggling at the other end. The great thing is we're not struggling at the other end. We're, you know, we're playing well in our attacking football. Yeah. So there's no reason why we shouldn't make the playoffs if we can sort the defence out. But that is such a big if.
I can't believe we haven't even talked about Josh Murphy either yet. Chris?
Josh Murphy is torn up, isn't he?
Absolutely superb for me.
I think we'll end up in the. I do think we'll land in the playoffs. I think we'll have a slow start, and I think we will get there definitely. I see it all coming together. I can't see that defence not working. I think everything is. They've all got the right skill set. They're all absolute monsters as well.
Are you just
They're
not
big
worried that
units.
some of them aren't? You know, I mean, we heard a lot about Zimmerman being big, strong, but in the Villa game, it's only one incident, but ball over the top, bounces. Zimmerman's there. He was out-muscled, using Chris Gorham's word, out-muscled, and the guy managed to get a shot away and hit the crossbar.
We have run out of time. Wow, it got away from us. As always, if you want to have your Norwich City say on the PinkUn Show, simply get in touch via the pinkun.com message board or send an email to our new email address, thepinkun@archant.co.uk. It's break time. You know the drill. If you're watching on Mustard, stick the kettle on. And if you're watching on YouTube, you're going to get some real gold. We'll keep this going. Either way, we'll see you in a tickle. Hello, everyone. We're back on the YouTube. Back on the YouTube, everyone. Everyone all right?
Yeah, good.
Are we still rumbling on about Naismith?
A little bit.
Yeah,
a little bit. I think just to kind of follow on from the last piece on Mustard, I think that problem for us isn't necessarily the defence. It's actually protecting the defence, which sounds so strange, but it's as you said before, Richard. I don't think Tete needs to be brought in to do that. I just think we need to be a lot better on the ball. We were giving away the ball needlessly. Vrancic went missing in that Villa game, absolutely missing. Couldn't thread a pass together, which, by the way, I think he's a fantastic player. Lots of potential. But he just went missing. As soon as we sort out, you know, protecting the defence by alleviating that pressure, Zimmerman will have more time to get to the ball dead out.
And also, I think
it's more. For me, it's not so much Zimmerman, because I think the step up was always going to be big for him. And although people keep going, you said he was going to be fourth choice. Well, that was the reality, and people have got injured.
That's because we haven't got anyone better than him in front of him. That's the trouble.
And Marcel Franke is the one where maybe just expecting a little more, and that adaptation seems to be taking a while, David.
Yeah, he out of him and Zimmerman, I think he's the weak link at the moment. I mean, last night he didn't have the greatest of games. I didn't think. I don't know, Chris. What do you think on that last night? I didn't think he had the greatest of games. Actually,
I thought Zimmerman came on and did quite well. Actually,
Zimmerman did, yes,
too
but
early
Frank,
to call it, isn't it? It's just too early to call it. I think
really,
even for me, I'm not a massive Husband fan, but I'm kind of just keeping my mouth shut just for a few more games.
Exactly.
Because I won't keep my mouth shut. That's a complete lie.
No, that's a lie. Totally.
Not in the game, you won't.
But Husband is probably the weak link. I think Frank and Zimmerman have made the step up.
I don't think there's a weak link, though. I think it's a collective thing. I think it's collectively they need to work out. And I think Russell Martin gets a lot of stick, whereas, you know, it's about working as yeah, but more than who? But Christoph Zimmerman really struggled. Marcel Franke got nowhere near a 19-year-old. And those two, to me, had worse performances than
But Steepleman, to me...
10 seconds! We keep running out of time!
Steepleman, to me, should never have played against Villa.
And that's it, you're done. We'll see you in a moment. Welcome back to the final part of tonight's PinkUn Show with me, with Richard Balls, Chris Reeve and David Powell.
Yes.
Yeah, nice. Thanks, Chris. I'm just going to apologise for getting the order wrong, but it's all right. So, City have come unstuck against a relegated Premier League team and been trounced by big spending Aston Villa, but it's an entirely different task that awaits on Saturday as the Canaries head to the Lion's Den. And yes, they haven't won a game on their championship return.
Oh, God.
Well, some very confident people here, because the first question I've got here is a debating point. It doesn't feel like an ideal game for Farke's side to take on at the moment, because I'm just a bit worried about them taking on robust sides. Chris?
Disagree.
I've got that
entirely.
sense. Yeah.
I do honestly think if we score first, we will tear them to pieces. We'll thrash Millwall, honestly. I just think everything has got to come together for Saturday's game. I know people are saying patience. I know people are saying, Chris, calm down, you know, it's only Millwall. But no, it has got to work, you know. The fans expect us to turn around a side that's been promoted. You know, the only bit of quality, in my opinion, that they've got up front that stands out is our old boy, Steve Morrison. Now, if Morrison scores first for Millwall, totally different game. If we score first for the first time this season, by the way, I honestly do think we'll tear them apart. Stand by that.
Apart from QPR, which they won, of course, the QPR game. David, halfway through that, you said must win. It's August the 23rd.
No. To get the fans on Norwich's side as well, I think it's not obviously a must-win, of course it's not, but it's a win that, like Chris has said, that we have to go there as fans as well as the players to go there. Yeah. Well, 3 points is a must, because if not, we're just getting behind. I
think also there's an away thing as well.
Yes.
I mean, you know, defence has been a curse for us for a long time. Away performances have actually dogged us for a long time as well. I mean, the reason we got relegated from the Premier League, arguably, was the kind of defeats at, you know, some of the lower...
Which time?
I mean, any time.
Which
Villa,
is frustrating.
Bournemouth, you know, all those sort of stuff.
Which is frustrating off the back of Fulham, where I openly praise them because they didn't go that second goal behind, and they really dug in. Really
dug in and got a late goal. I think that's the importance for me of Millwall. You know, they are just newly promoted. We should go there. A side that they've got the resources that we've got, we should go there and get something. And in the past, we haven't done that. So if this season's going to be different from last season, and we're, you know, rather than being eighth, we're going to be.
Do you think, Richard? Do you not think we've done that previously against Millwall? I think we played them off the park previously. Wes Houlihan particularly is absolutely destroyed.
We beat them, what, seven down here, was it?
It was in the stat pack. Yeah, 12 goals in the last.
No, sorry. I went. We've not done that before in other seasons against sides like that.
Right,
so
I also think in the away, being us away, it would be nice to see us be 1-0 up sort of and hold it for 20 minutes and watch the other teams having to come onto us, because then our midfield that we have got, I personally think, could turn around and absolutely, like Chris said, we could rip through them big time. Definitely. Because they'll be pushing.
So, am I on my own here being slightly worried that over the week, I was watching the highlights over the weekend, I was thinking, I'm not sure about this Norwich side at Sheffield United or Burton or Cardiff, where it's going to be in there. They feel a bit easy
I tend to agree with you there. Yeah. Bully boys, and I did say that on Chris's videos earlier in the season, a couple of games ago. Bully boys will bully us, and that is the problem that we've got. Is that we are very light, hence the tetty bit.
What did you say to David when he said these on your videos, Chris?
I actually just think we are actually the other way around now. I think we should and could be the bullies. We've signed the biggest players we've signed in seasons. That's exactly why we've got the two big men at the back.
Giants, yeah.
There's no excuse to be bullied off the ball. And as well, let's look at it the other way around. We should be this offensive, bringing the game to them kind of team. So we shouldn't be in this position where we're even letting them bully us, because we should be bullying them.
Love it. City's pre-match press conference is expected to be on Friday lunchtime, and I'll be there, so keep an eye on the PinkUn's YouTube channel and Facebook page, as well as pinkun.com for the top lines from Colney. And we will have all manner of videos come Saturday, from the coaches departing Carrow Road to all the fallout from East London. Just head to pinkun.com and pinkun.com/the PinkUn channel. No, that's not right, is it? YouTube. Too many PinkUns. YouTube.com/the PinkUn channel. I've got there in the end. As for the rest of the Championship weekend, Villa and Hull will both be hoping for wins on Friday night. Then come Saturday, it doesn't get any easier for Barnsley or Brentford. QPR will hope to give Cardiff a scare, and Fulham will represent a real test for Ipswich at Portman Road. Alec Neil takes on Borough for the first time since Wembley, while the late kick-off promises much at the City Ground. All this, of course, before the first international break of the season. So, guys, it's always nice to know what you would like to see from Saturday. David, we've got your 11 as plugged, teased earlier in the show. Let's have a look at all these Alex Tetties then, shall we? Take us through this. I mean, as you say, you've gone 4-2-3-1.
Yeah, I think from what I see last night, Steepleman, I think, he didn't blow. Husband blows. And Steepleman's seemed a lot fitter and stronger. More ability with the passing down the flank as well, which I was really pleased with. Husband seems to get 3/4 of the way and then realises that he's lost the ball and he's got to get back, and he can't get back, where Stapleton last night, I know it's only Charlton, but Stapleton looked more, to me, into that system. Closer, if Closer's fit, I think he's a must.
If he's not, who
then,
plays?
Then Frank has to play.
Which I think it might well be too soon for Tim. But we will see. Richard, we haven't got an 11 from you. What do you make of David's 11?
No, I think that's a really, really good 11, that. I wouldn't have probably put Tetty in there other than what happened last night. Obviously, had a really good game. So I think that's a very, very good lineup. I'm always a little bit worried about if it's Jerome who's on his own and he's the sort of lone wolf up front. That worries me a bit, because I think that the days when Jerome would have monstered that position and got goals are gone, and that's no disrespect to Jerome. I mean, I think he'll still get goals for us, and he'll be a really important player this season. But if you're just going to play someone up front like that, and that is one of the hardest things you can ask anyone on a football pitch to do at any level, I think that has to be Oliveira.
Yeah, Marley Watkins did it for the first time in professional football ever, he said. He told me on Tuesday, which I'm not sure if that's entirely true, but I've got to trust what he says. So we obviously hope Nelson Oliveira is fit. I bumped into him on the way to the ground last night. He was just off Fernando's, which he described as Portuguese food. I think that's right. But he was going to watch the game, and he said he's hopeful. Not wishing to quote him off the record, but there we go. Chris, shall we have a look at your 11?
Yeah, go on then.
And here it is.
Yeah, I like it.
4-1-4-1.
Yeah.
So, for me, you've got to go to Millwall with confidence. I think you've got to get Houlihan or Maddison, but I was feeling confident when I wrote this team up, so I've stuck them both in. At the end of the day, you've got to bring it to them. We've got to make sure that we score first on Saturday, and I feel that if Maddison and Houlihan are brought into the game and Oliveira starts, I stick with my point. I can't see us not tearing them apart if that team starts. I put Vrancic on because I feel like he needs to be given another chance.
I was going to say, you've both picked Mario Vrancic.
Yeah, I think he was poor against Villa, but I think that he has got the ability, you saw against QPR, to play that special through ball, and I do think he's got it. I think that Steepleman at left back,
I'm glad you chose that one, because we haven't spoken, and yet...
I was going to say, you're very sure you haven't...
No, we haven't. It's not just...
Well, I went for Tetty instead of Vrancic. The rest of the red team is... And Closer.
Yeah.
Well, it's like forgiveness, really, isn't it?
Thanks.
I like it. I would just like to talk about Josh very briefly. David, what have you made in the last couple of games?
Outstanding.
Yeah.
Different. I think he's actually a better player without his brother hovering around him.
Agreed, totally agreed.
You might hear some stuff on that before the end of the week. And in terms of Maddison, I've been so impressed.
What a player he is, Michael, honestly.
Really has stepped up.
You know what impresses me the most about Maddison? He is a wee man, and, he's not got loads of strength about him. He uses his body so well. Collects the ball, but also he's not just turning and playing it sideways. He's moving forwards with it.
He wants to go forward.
We've missed that season upon season. He's so confident.
He's also much more than a number 10, which I'm really liking to see. Predictions, Chris?
For Millwall, I think we will, if we score first, I think we will win 4-0.
Okay, I love it. Richard?
2-0 to Norwich.
David?
I'm going 3-1 Norwich.
Wow. I don't have to make a prediction anymore. They're the
Why not? Go
PinkUn
on.
rules. And I'm the host, so that's it. And I think we're probably... Oh, can you believe it? We've just run out of time. That's it for tonight's show. If you missed any of it, then fear not. You can watch it all again on the PinkUn YouTube channel. And that goes for all the build-up from Colney and PinkUn Towers ahead of Saturday's game. But for now, a big thank you to our stellar cast of Richard Balls, Chris Reeve and David Powell, as well as producer Jake and all the team behind the scenes. We'll be back next week at the same time. That's Wednesday at 7 p.m, live as always on the PinkUn YouTube channel and on Mustard too. Until then, here's to lions taming being a new skill in Daniel Farker's locker. Good night.